Welcome back to Around the Mage Table. I am Frank, and this is Technique.
SB.
Scrapclaw.
Hey.
And Shawnee.
Howdy.
How's everyone doing tonight? You guys feeling good?
Feeling good, man. Yeah,
feeling good.
We got a hopefully a quick episode for everyone. You know, we're gonna cover some alpha material, and then we're gonna jump into season 4 and give our report card. You know, I want to get a quick pulse on season 4. You guys still feeling good? Bad?
Indifferent.
Okay, indifferent. So
I will say, now that I'm starting to get to spend bullions, it's kind of exciting.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit about bullions.
And also now that we've seen all 3 raids, I'm like, oh yeah, I love these raids, and the dungeons are fun. You know, it feels pretty good.
And what about you, Technique?
I'm delighted, man. Happy to see the increase to our Prot Warrior. Got some Prot Warrior love, which is nice to see.
Some buffs this week, yeah. All right, well, we'll get more into that.
Demon Hunter's taking a little nerf, which, you know, I'm not sure how impactful it's been, but we'll get into that probably.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
To see it anyway.
I just want to talk about some of the alpha stuff going on. We had a new alpha release last Thursday. We'll have a new one by the time this episode comes out, and some big changes. And I'll start with, of course, me. We'll start talking about the Arcane Mage notes. I'll go quickly through this because I don't think any of y'all care, and honestly, there's not many Arcane Mages out there to care anyways. But it sounds like they're trying to make Arcane more accessible, not as challenging to master. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm confused because when I was watching it on Twitch the day it released, feedback was really negative. But I mean, it sounds so good. There's so many good changes where they're taking out a lot of our ramp up to get things going, like they're removing Radiant Spark, and then they just let you opt into being more complex, which I would assume is for more damage. They're making Arcane Missiles more powerful. So again, I'm pretty excited. Everything looked good in the talent tree.
It seems like the devs agreed with us that there's some button bloat to count Radiant Spark.
It is, and I need to actually go back because, okay, so yes, they definitely cleared out some of the buttons on Arcane, which is a good point, because they took out Radiant Spark, they took out, I think it's called Nether Tempest, and I want to say they took out a couple more things, but they changed it so that you have more choice in your rotation, which seems to be a little bit more of the theme going on in general with War Within, especially with the hero talents coming in, and also with tier sets, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, that's Arcane Mage. I'm feeling pretty excited. I can't wait till one of us get on the alpha so that we can start seeing it for ourselves. But again, what I saw on Twitch looked exciting. And then, of course, there were some Ret Paladin changes. I don't know how complicated they were. Shawnee, you're a Ret Paladin expert. Tell me a little bit what's going on there.
They weren't very complicated overall. They're hoping to make Wake of Ashes a bit easier with Strife because it's frontal and people were missing. So hopefully this make it more of a easier to hit. Blade adjustments and Templar strikes. They're making it so when you refresh them, they don't kill off the power. It rolls over the overtime effect. And then they're just making it, they feel like it's a little button pushy, but they're trying to make it feel rewarding for adding extra buttons to the rotation. So all of it sounds good.
Yeah, and I haven't played a lot of Ret, even though I usually play my Paladin a lot. I just kind of stay away from it because I just don't feel like there's a synergy to the rotation. I feel like it's kind of lopsided. I don't know if it's the best way to describe it. Do you feel like this is going to clean it up a little bit more, or is it maybe just kind of empowering things?
It's going to make it feel more rewarding when you're hitting your buttons.
Yeah,
like a whack-a-mole.
That's actually another point too that I didn't think about until you said it. It doesn't feel as powerful, I guess. Like you'd think Wake of Ashes would just feel like a nuke just hit everything, but it just never felt like that. Cool. Sure. Well, that's Ret. And what about Warriors? Technique, walk us through what they're changing. What's going on with Arms? What's going on with Fury? So and of course, you can even tell us about the Prot Warrior changes this week.
Despite the name of this podcast, we're not all mages. I main a warrior, and so Protection Warriors I'm most excited about. I'm not really super excited about the changes. You know, I really all they're doing, aside from what we see in the current game, is I do like that the defensive stance is no longer going to punish your damage output. So I like that. It just means we get 5% more damage output, which we just saw 5% to all ability damage in Tuesday's patch. And now we're going to see in War Within another 5% nerf taken away. So we just get that 5% back as well. We'll also see with a talent point. The little flames thing, through the flames, fight through the flames ability is going to give us 5% passive magic damage reduction. I'm not excited about that. I don't care. It's passive. It's 5%. Nobody cares. For arms, they're going on. I don't know. To me, this is all pretty bland as far as what they're talking about.
I can speak to the
And-
Fury part.
Yeah, I was going to ask because go on, sorry.
And well, thematically about arms and Fury, and I think Scrap and I got into this a little bit because she plays Fury and I'm usually protection and arms. And to me, like arms is big two-hander, like smashing, like slamming, and just stomping, and like big. That's what the theme is in my head. And Fury is more slashing and bleeding and that type of thing.
Well,
Frantic.
it's completely opposite that.
Right, but I think thematically that's what it should be to me.
Yeah.
Where the direction they're going is to just make Cleave stronger, give you a choice away from what has been overpower and Dreadnought procs for a long time in arms, which is just the same button with a proc. So it's boring, but they're basically just kind of build arms around Cleave, which is just a different version of the same thing. Not really sure how that's going to really change the play, except give you a different button to press. So I'm not super stoked about it, honestly. It doesn't. It's whatever.
What about you,
It could
Scrap?
be one or the other.
Is
Yeah, no, I think
Fury
I'm
calling to you now?
just glossed over the Fury change. I mean, I was talking to a friend earlier this week. He was asking like, "Oh, like you used to play Warrior, you don't play Warrior anymore." And I was like, "Dude, like Fury is so boring. Like I feel like in Shadowlands it was, it was satisfying. Like it's really simple but really satisfying, really fast paced. And I don't know, something got lost in Dragonflight, but the Bloodthirst change here is really good because it's one of those abilities that you kind of use at the beginning of your rotation and then like never again unless you have nothing else to press. Like it's literally outclassed by every other ability. The only use that it had realistically was to get your enrage up immediately at the beginning of the encounter. But here it's looked like they're like, okay, we hear that people don't want like a button they press once at the beginning of the rotation and then it's just a shit button for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's literally like you press it when nothing else you can press. It just sucks. But yeah, that it's going to interact with your enrage, like make it longer. It's like, okay, let's bring enrage back because in Shadowlands, like I used to have to keep an eye on my enrage, make sure I'm still enraged. In Dragonflight, you're kind of just enraged just by doing nothing. Like if you're just doing your rotation, you will never lose it. So hopefully they'll bring more of that back in because it was kind of the only thing that you could do on Fury that was interesting.
So I do
Yeah.
want to just make one last comment on the arms piece. I watched a video of a guy today. Yesterday I watched the video. He was playing arms in a +16 Algathar's Academy with a priest and an AUG and evoker. So a lot of things working for him. He probably had PI every time, and he had augmentation, the whole thing. But that big first pull in AA. I mean, the dude did over 5 million DPS, and then sustained through the dungeon. It was like 1.2 million overall DPS, which was insane to see. But ultimately, it was just a lot of bleed damage. He just maxed out bleed damage, and that seems to be the direction that they want to take the arms spec, which I'm pretty good with that. Big slaps up front and the subsequent bleed damage as a result of
it's
that.
like
So I'm
bleed
pretty happy
versus
with that.
Bleeds versus enrage, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I don't understand what Technique was saying earlier about like,
No,
like it's Fury is supposed to be the slicey, bleedy one. It's literally like you get so angry you like explode. It's like it's not a
Yeah.
finesse class.
Well,
fantasy.
thematically to me, like I'm crushing something with like arms to me feels like a big mace or a big axe type of spec, where Fury is like 2 swords or 2 axes.
Yeah, two
and-
big
and
axes. It's
so
like
you can
less.
2 big. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. It's just a theme thing. I feel like it should be that way, and it's not, and it's fine.
Okay. We can argue about class fantasy all day, but
yeah. Well, this will be
I mean,
the
that's
Warrior
like what
podcast. Around the
transmog should you
Warriors.
wear? It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's more
I'm
of
just
a
saying like
personal
all the
opinion.
Fury abilities are like Bloodthirst, like Raging Blow, Rampage. They're
Yeah, okay,
like
so
not
bloodthirst
finessey.
doesn't sound like you want things to bleed.
No, well, I mean, yeah, but it's
Can't wait to use that
Anyway.
for a thumbnail on the
just like
podcast.
what are the arms like things? Like like die by the sword and stuff like that. You're like an honorable warrior.
But not die by the mace. It was like a slashy weapon, like a slicey, cutty weapon.
I'm
that
just
makes you
saying,
bleed and
your
not
defensive is die by the sword. Mine is called like
Johnny, how's
enraged
your day going today?
regeneration. Like,
Just
oh,
just
I'm
waiting
going
for the
down
next
this
thing.
hill. It's literally called
Well-
Fury. Like it's not supposed to be a finesse bleed class. It's supposed to be
Okay,
a
and-
Mad and
alright.
Smash class.
Well,
Sure,
and
sure, sure.
We
and
can argue all day.
there's still the whole point of this segment right here is that there is still obviously new expansions are really the only time where you get to thematically, maybe even completely overhaul, but mostly overhaul what's going on. And so we have, like I said, Arcane, Ret. I think Demonology went through some changes as well. Monks went through a huge change 2 weeks ago, and there's more. I'm sure I'm missing out on a lot. But on top of that, we also have the talent trees or the hero talents that are coming in with some revamps. Scrap, I wanted to show you really quick. So we talked last time about survival, getting the Sentinel talent. Seems like the reviews are, good, visually stunning. You get this, and I'm going to show you if you can see it.
I
this
feel
little-
like visually stunning is overblown.
Well, and they said it's very passive, right? So you just kind of.
It looks
Zoom in on
I don't
this
even-
GIF.
I don't even think it's that good.
compared to the priest one where you open up a black hole. It what is this?
Well-
There's just a little bird.
Agree.
Who said visually stunning? The guy who made it.
The guy who writes the guides. But I'm not going to question that because again, there might be more to it other than this very short.
Okay.
It does
GIF.
kind of look like a toy that you would just click.
Yeah,
and
it looks
does
like a
the thing.
toy.
But there are two new. There may even be more, but I think there's two new hero talents that were released on this last build. Archon. So thematically and gameplay wise, I think this is a perfect example of what hero talents should do. So we talked last time about the one that what was it called? The one that creates the black hole and rips apart reality. And this week is the Archon one. So for Shadow, you have this idea of a spec that allows you to burst really well, a hero talent that lets you burst really well. And this new Archon one, I can't remember which one's which. I think this one's the burst one. But the idea behind the Archon is you have a halo. Whether you play Holy, it's golden. If you play Shadow, it's purple. But you send out your halo and then it contracts and goes out 2 more times. So 3 total, halos spawn and go. And, things that get hit by it take additional damage and all this, kind of fun stuff go on. And while it doesn't necessarily sound as mind-blowing as maybe like the Mage ones where you have, shattering spells and a phoenix come flying down, and certainly not as pretty as the Sentinel one that we just saw, it does sound cool that you have like this kind of like Nova just constantly pulsing on you.
Yeah.
So I think that's great for the priest, and it seems to be pretty good. And then we got the new Rogue Fatebound hero talent. Now, Shani, I don't know rogues nearly as well as you do. You did play a rogue quite a lot, but
Yep.
my understanding is so with Outlaw you had roll the dice, right?
Yep.
And what was the overall feeling from the rogue community about how that spell was received?
I mean, the people I know, we were all kind of like the RNG of it was annoying.
Yeah, I think overall, and it's exciting to a degree, but it's not great if you really if you care about parsing, if you care about trying to win.
Yeah,
Well, this
like you
sounds-
had to get a weak aura to like kind of keep track of it so you could like
Yeah.
roll into the proper one.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a pain.
I remember when I played Legion, and I think that's just when it came out. It was like a week or just popping up with different icons telling me what was going on.
It got a lot better as time went on, but it's still like meh.
Well, Fatebound, from what I can understand, is all about flipping a coin. And the idea, and again, please don't skewer me if I'm getting this incorrect, but the idea is that if you can flip the same face of the coin 7 times in a row, like, huge nuke of damage goes off. Now, granted, they don't expect you to be able to do it 7 times in a row because obviously that's a very low chance. There are some parts of this talent tree that will, like, let's say if you get 3 in a row, you can use an ability that allows you to effectively guarantee 4 more flips or 3 more flips or whatever to kind of get you to that 7th flip. But as soon as I heard about this, I immediately thought of the roll the dice again. And again, this is in the Outlaws hero talents choices.
Wait, hold on. I don't know shit about rogues. Are they actually displaying a coin flip on your screen?
We don't.
Show
We
you
haven't.
if you
I
did or
haven't
not?
seen this. I haven't seen
That'd be
this.
so cool.
But I'll give you an idea. Like when you roll the dice, 5 dice. You've
Yeah.
probably seen it before. Where like, and I think they come
Maybe.
from Harlan and well, no, they were before that. I think I don't know. But 5 dice will roll around you, and
Yeah.
you'll see the faces that they land on. I mean, it's very quick and
do?
brief, but
That's so
you get
cool.
buffs off of it, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe there will be a coin that you see on screen. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be like some, obnoxious mobile game sort of coin that
I
just
would want
pops
to
up and
see
just
it because I'm like playing slots
confetti
while
flying
I'm
by.
doing my rotation. It's like,
course you would.
oh, sevens, like
Of
they should have a
course you
slot
would.
machine mechanic. Why not go
What's
all the
the
way?
bottom one?
The bottom, so when your Fatebound coin flips the same face for the 7th time in a row, the lucky coin grants 1% increase to all primary, secondary, and tertiary stats until you leave combat for 10 seconds. So you get it for the rest of the fight, effectively. 1% doesn't sound like a lot, though.
This is so passive, though. Like a coin is just flipping all the time?
Well, the coin here, when does it, so each effect is increased by 20%. So it keeps increasing every time you get the same coin. And I don't remember, again, I don't even know.
Do you like press a button to flip a coin, or is it just passively
well,
happen?
It's when you use a spell, I assume.
Oh, okay. I would want to see that shit on my screen. That's me personally. I
You
want
want
to
the
know
mobile
what's going
game,
on.
confetti flying
I
out.
do. And if they don't have it in the game, I'm getting a weak aura.
Oh,
that
it's every
tells
time.
me I'm
It's every
getting-
time you do a finishing move with 5 or more combo points. That's what it was. So
I
every
wanna
time
see the
you
visual on
combo.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'm playing a rogue for Panda. That sounds so awesome.
Of course.
Yeah, I love that.
Shawnee, what do you
I
think?
don't know. I'm not excited about that. I'd want to see what the other outlaw tree was because I'd probably play that.
I think it's fun as hell, man. Like
I think
if
the
you get
gambling
like
is fun.
No,
you get like
because
5 and 6 heads in a row, you're just like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
blowing
but
up.
too many times they have rogues like outlaw was so random and like RNG
Yeah.
you could get Nikki and be amazing, and people are like you're a god, and then you get Nikki and people are like, yeah, we don't want to take an outlaw rogue because it's super RNG.
So you figure over the course of a key, it's happening like 70 times. You're gonna have the great RNG moments, a couple throughout the
Yeah,
key.
but it's
Or not.
people look at your damage and they'll be like, oh, you're really low here, and you're like, well, I had bad rolls. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't
I mean,
even
I think
think
the
that's
way-
the problem. I
Yeah.
think the problem is that if it's like in a raid, okay, this is fine, like because the
Yeah.
fight will last 8 minutes or whatever.
Mhm.
But in a dungeon, you're trying to flip, and then you finally, yes, I got it. 7 flips in a row.
and then it's
Combat ends. Now, granted, looks like they addressed that with the 10-second runoff because they give you 10 seconds to get back in combat. And in a good key, you'd be doing that. But I could also imagine Shani literally wanting to murder me. That if I were like, oh, hold on, I gotta drink mana because I've been wogging too much.
If I were to design this, like based around an RNG sort of thing, is that like if you're getting bad RNG, you would have a way to pivot, like to do a lot of damage anyway. You know what I mean? Whereas like maybe the high RNG just means it like makes your rotation easier, or you're favoring like certain buttons over the others. So that in both cases you're active as opposed
It
to
also kind
feeling
of depends on like the cosmic damage piece for when you do tails. So like how much damage does it deal? We don't know.
yeah, or if it could do
And there's
something
tuning still to be
different
done. I
on
mean, there'll be
tails.
tuning done forever, So.
I love the idea. I hope the visual is awesome of a coin flip. And let's introduce slots or something like that.
But I want to revisit then. So is it more about the theme / visual aspect of it? Would you choose this if it looked like, the slot machine that you wanted over a potential 2, 3, 5, 10%? I wouldn't say 10%, 5% more damage on the other one?
No, I would take the damage, but I would do this. I would do this for fun.
That's a shame.
It's true, and it's true of all the player base. I guarantee.
No,
you,
not me. Not me. Not me.
Maybe our peers. So
No.
I guess you.
And they still only have 2 of the hero trees for rogue. Oh,
Yeah. You still got
I've
one
already
more.
made up my mind, dude. I'm a Colossus warrior. I'm gonna be 5% bigger than everyone else around me.
5%
Doesn't matter.
bigger.
Doesn't matter if it's
I
better.
feel like that should be like 20%. I feel like it needs to be bigger. 5% is not enough.
5%
Even
is
bigger.
a lot. Yeah.
I can
Anyways.
stack other size increases. Too,
So to put a bow on all this, though, right? We are winding down with like a couple more talent trees left, hero talent trees left out there. I don't think Elemental has seen one yet, or maybe they have. But like for the most part, they changed the Oracle one. May not be 100% there yet, but at least it's moving in the right direction. And a lot of people are pretty excited. Of course, there needs to be some work done. Visuals still haven't been fully implemented in the alpha, so even if you go out there and try to look at it, you may not see as cool of a looking thing. Like, again, the Arcane one, they just added the Phoenix to have a little more Arcane flavor to it when it's out.
Not to cut in, I will say one thing does concern me about the visuals, that when I saw the priest visual, my first thought was like, oh, that's so sick. And my second thought was, oh my god, imagine trying to dodge swirlies when that's happening under your feet. So I hope they tune them with that in mind as well. That like, hey, I still need to see what's going on. If everybody has a super mega flashy fireworks visual, like, you know, ease up. Let's not do fucking, what was that
I think-
RPG that was like the guns, Wildstar or something?
I think
But you can't see anything.
I really
The
wanted to
argument
play
needs to
that,
be-
never did.
I think the argument needs to be that they generally need to do a better job of telegraphing anyways.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, I mean, how many times have they made a dungeon or a raid where the blue lines up with the blue of the room and it's like, oh, I really don't even see it anyways.
And imagine the blue of the priest also.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like-
and there's a nuke going off and it's taking up 60% of the space where the tank's standing.
This person's blade storming and their whole screen is filled with them spiraling around, and you know, like, I feel like that's already a bit of a problem. You know, it's not a huge problem, but when we have 5 melee and a key, like, I can't see fucking anything that's going on, man. And that's where it's all happening too, is in melee.
Plus
So
your screen is going berserk because you're like, I don't know, you're just
Well, I like to
swinging all
play-
around.
I like to play in first person, so that does hurt.
Do you guys feel like there's any, I mean, between all of us, I think, you know, technically you play Warlock, you've played Shadow Priest or Priest in general. Shonda, you've got your Rogue, you've got your Paladin. Have you done any other characters?
I did DK.
Enough DK, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I think between all of us, right, we've all got some flavor, except for maybe Evoker. But anyways, do you guys feel like there's any reworks needed left to be done on a class that you haven't seen then? Like, I'm excited about the Arcane one. Maybe it's not the right step, but at least they're trying. You guys think there's anything that's left out?
It's hard for me to say because I don't think there's any class that's like unplayable.
There's
Like-
there's two things I wish would happen. It's just because I'm old. I want demonology warlocks to go back to transforming into demons.
Oh, that's true.
I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want discipline to revert back to how it was in like WoD. I like old discipline more than
Are
new.
you talking about stuff I want back? Because I want the snake trap back for hunters. I thought it was
Those
so
would be like
You're right,
my
that's what I
rework.
asked. Stuff I want back. Scraps laundry
Yeah,
list is
no,
good enough.
I mean, no.
I have
guess
a
when
long
you're saying
list.
rework was, I'd like
Yeah,
to
no, I get it.
rework how they used to be.
You know,
Those, I mean,
Sean, you were actually giving insight to things of why you want it. She just wants to trap
I didn't
back.
understand, and I went lock and load back because
But
that was the sickest thing ever.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, playing Holy Pally this season, I feel like it could use some love.
I
Definitely.
think they did some
They
changes.
did, but then they did the changes, but then they gave us a crappy tier set that like doesn't really help
No, no,
the
no.
changes
Let's
they
not
did.
get
for
into
War
that
Within,
because
for War Within, they are, and again, this was like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember any of it because I didn't really pay attention too much to it. But I feel like they are making changes to, I mean, as they did with Rhett, also some stuff with Holy a little while back too.
Yeah.
We won't dive too far down into that, but
Anyway,
yeah.
but yeah,
either way,
no, I think overall stuff's pretty good.
I feel like then we're going to talk about the zone here in a second, the new one that released, but I feel like there's a lot of hype, and this might be the first time in a long time where we're hyping from one expansion to the next. And we've mentioned it before. This is a really good sign for the health of the game, at least from a standpoint of just making a great game and people will come to it because it's a great game. But so we're on part 3 of the alpha. There's going to be 4 parts as far as we can tell. They might go straight to beta. I think that's what they did with Dragonflight. They did week 1, one zone, week 2, and just kind of kept releasing the zones in a weekly format. Starting to Thursday this week, it will be the final zone with the final 2 dungeons, and then I think they'll step into beta, which might mean, I don't know, maybe invites will go out for everyone that pre-ordered. I don't know, but one can hope that we'll get to see it all soon. I doubt it, given the fact that WoW Remix launches next week, which we'll have an episode around that next week for you. But this week, Hallowfall had released, and actually, let me see if I can get some pictures of it real quick. But we showed pictures last week, didn't we? Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to go into the spoilers just yet, but in general, I think we talked about this a little bit. But the zone of Hallowfall seems to be unanimously agreed upon as one of the most gorgeous zones they've ever made. Right. So just as a refresher, this is the zone that has the big crystal in it. And acts as the sun of the zone. Feels wide open. The story seems to be pretty cool. The dungeon. So have we talked about this at all with you guys?
I think we touched on it. Yeah.
Yeah. But just like one of them, you're riding
It goes
on.
between day and night. or
well,
Shadow?
that's the zone. That's the zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, in the theme of the two zones, one of them is like a holy themed one, and the other one's a shadow themed one. So one, you're storming the citadel of the bad guys, and it's a huge city, and it ends inside the citadel with like you see outside the window to the crystal. That's the holy themed one, and then there's one where the Dawnbreaker is a ship that's being, I guess, taken over by the bad guys. And I remember just watching it on stream, and I think it's the first or second boss just effectively will stand in the middle of a ship at some point and literally turn into what looks like a nuclear explosion of shadow. And you have to get on your dragon riding mount and quickly fly away before you get caught up in the the mushroom cloud of this shadow.
I love that.
A lot of dragon riding in that instance. And unlike Nakud, where you were just moving because, it just like was a really big zone, but you just had to move through dragon riding because that's how it just was spacious. This one actually uses dragon riding. Like you fly in on a ship on your thing, you drop a bomb on it, and you have to fly off of it really quickly before it explodes. So like, amazing themes, amazing narrative structure to these dungeons. It might be a nightmare for Mythic Plus. We talked about the minecart one where minecarts are literally flying through. There's a part where you have to escort a minecart with a candle on it. And if someone's not standing near the minecart, it won't escort.
Oh, no.
And right. So could be a nightmare for the Mythic Plus scene. I would assume that they'd make some general tweaks if it does turn out to be the way, but we won't worry about that so much. But again, like all in all, I'm super excited about this from a narrative standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint of leveling, from a gameplay standpoint of Mythic Plus. Raid should be great. It's been, like, as you said, Scrap, earlier, the last 3 raids have been amazing. I'm happy to go back to Vault. I'm happy even to go back to Abras, which I didn't think was that strong of a raid, but still had some fun fights. Sorry, Technique, you were going to say something?
No, I was talking about dog. Sorry.
But yeah, like I'm feeling really good. And spoiler alert, I do want to talk about one thing real quick before we get to our next topic. But I'll give a second for everyone to leave just in case. At the end of this zone, we discover that Anduin sacrifices himself to allow us to escape, and once again gets himself captured by, this time, the Nerubians. And I just wanted to quickly ask you guys, how many times are we going to have to go rescue Anduin? And are you worried that this might be maybe a too alliance-heavy themed expansion, given the fact that
Andrew needs to retire.
Who? Andrew? Did you say?
Andrew needs to retire. He tried, I guess, so I can't hold it against him.
Well, we don't know what happens to him, of course. I don't think anything ill will happen to him.
Here's what's gonna happen: we're gonna team up with Thrall and go save him, right? Isn't that part of it?
If this allows for Thrall to be the main guy,
yeah,
I'll be down with that, because I'm sick of him being like, I can't help you. I'm tired. I'm sick.
I'm like, he's not sick. He's a family man. How dare you? I think.
Dude. I'm sick.
Whatever, dude.
I've got cancer.
Honestly, if we think about
like, go on. I mean, all of like Shadowlands, he's like sitting down and asking you to go do things. And you're like, bro, can you?
Wasn't as bad as Bane was.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't even remember Thrall in Shadowlands.
Exactly.
He's like, he was there.
I think the lore of it was that all of them, like Jaina, Bane, and Thrall, and whoever else was there, like, were so exhausted because time in Torghast felt like an eternity to them. So they were just mentally spent.
Am I crazy? I don't think Thrall went into the
Jaina
Shadowlands
was there
until the
all
end.
throughout
Bane
that.
was.
No, they all 3 of them were there when Anduin also got caught. And
think of the quest line, dude.
Because
Jaina's
that's
like, hey,
the first set of quests.
Cool. Hey, grab this.
The first set of quests, you go in to save, I think it's Thrall first, then Jaina, then Bane.
Oh, maybe you're
and then
right.
you go to try to save Anduin, and he,
I don't remember.
And what happened as soon as you found that mace for Thrall, or the axe for Thrall? What happened? He like took it and was like, "Thanks, dude," and left.
No, he didn't. He said it doesn't recognize me anymore. No, he said it doesn't recognize me anymore, and I think he gave up Doomhammer.
Ago.
I think, again, this is definitely the podcast for the rest of us. I'm not. I think I know my lore, but I'm not 100% certain of it. I'm pretty sure he says Doomhammer no longer recognizes me and gives it to us, the players, and said, "You deal with it."
I want Thrall to taste some blood in the War Within, dude. That's what I want.
That's the second part of the question, because we've got. I mean, Khadgar's not Alliance, but he's a human character. We've got Illyria. We've a heavy Illyria. We've got heavy Anduin. Jaina's very heavily prevalent so far. And while Thrall is in the cinematic, from what I can tell, he's not very much featured throughout the questing so far.
Well, I mean, they've killed off so many other or wrote off so many of the Horde characters, like Zul'jin and Karen Bloodhoof were like cool badass characters, and Sylvanas. I don't even want to talk about what they did to her. So it's like, who do we even have left? It's like, okay,
she got 2 whole fucking expansions, man. I'm done with her.
I'm
Let's
sick
move
of
on.
her. Yeah, that's the thing, is that I'm over it with her. So it's like, who can we interact with in the Horde? Well, you gotta bring Thrall back because everybody loves Thrall.
There are rumors that what's his name, the leader of the Blood Elves, Lorthamar? Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Nobody wants to see.
He will be very heavily featured in Midnight.
He's cool. I like him.
So there's a lot going on there, and there's actually a short story that just released talking about how there's even some Alliance characters, in Illyria being one of them, if she's considered Alliance, was in the Silvermoon capital as well. We won't go into that today, but yeah, I mean, like, you're right, because they are talking a little bit about what's her name from Menethil, Kalia.
Oh, right? Fuck her.
But she's had like side stories that she's not really the main player they're looking for. No. And
Talia Fordring, that's her name?
Menethil.
No, Talia Fordring is a human.
I thought that's who we were talking about.
No, we're talking about Kalia Menethil. She's undead.
She's now the undead queen.
Okay.
She's like a pretty undead that they, Mary sued into the game. I hate Kalia Menethil. I don't want to get started.
We've already got into this in the podcast. We don't need to go. Don't worry about it. We'll worry about it later.
No, but Lorthamar.
He's going to tell us which celebrity she looks like.
Don't.
Hop on Twitter and make some.
But yeah, I think you're right that there's not a lot. But I mean, honestly, Thrall is, Papa Wow. He is everyone's.
Like if I think of if I had to pick who the main guy of WoW is, like, since Varian is dead, Varian Rin's dead. I mean, it's got to be. It's Thrall is way cooler.
Well, Anduin, I think, is and Jaina main players.
Anduin sucks, man. They didn't do anything cool with him ever. He never does anything cool. He's
a
shitty priest.
Anduin, make him strong now that he's growing into a man.
Anduin. He's a priest. What are you supposed to do with him?
If they can but dude, he's seen it, man. He's been through it. He needs to get tough. He needs to get that beard going.
Yeah, I was saying you'll be happy to give him a beard, so you're good.
So so we're very Alliance heavy. It doesn't seem to be bothering you that much about it.
Anduin.
Like. But if Anduin is if he Rambos his way out of the Nerubians, are you gonna be like, okay, now this is my guy, or do you think they're just going to keep recycling that story of him being, I'm trapped?
Only if it's on purpose. Only if he secretly is like, I snuck up in here on purpose and I'm going to Holy Nova out or some shit.
Hold on. Here's the problem is they have a ton of characters who are just badasses. They roll in, they Holy Nova, they burst out. Like, Anduin's kind of a bit different. He kind of just gets captured and he sucks.
He'll converse his way out. He's like, but
yeah,
the light.
I don't think they should homogenize their characters. I just think they need to feature different ones every now and then, because maybe we're sick of having the Anduin I'm stepping into my father's shoes storyline constantly being thrown in our face.
He
didn't do it very well. Let's move on.
Take, because I don't really care about many of the other characters. No, if
Why
some
do you care
other
about Anduin?
Well, he's Anduin. What do you mean? We've been playing with him since.
He's not that
I've known him since he was a kid. What do you mean? How do I not care?
All right, Shawnee, punctuate this.
I honestly think they'll have it very Alliance heavy this expansion, which will lead into the next expansion being very Horde heavy, because they've planned out the next 10 years of expansions anyway.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. If one's one way and one's the other, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Especially if
maybe
carries a fluid story through and ties up a whole bunch of stuff, I'd be ecstatic.
For me, I feel like the Horde and Alliance thing is kind of put to bed.
I know.
We're all Azarothians now. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been enjoying these stories. I mean, I prefer the stories that were more Horde versus Alliance, but I'm cool with the direction they're going, and I feel like it shouldn't be an Alliance heavy and a Horde heavy. It's like we've seen in Shadowlands, we've seen in Dragonflight. It's like the leaders of both factions are getting screen time either way, and I kind of like that. They may as well continue with it.
I would like to see the War Within become, again,
the War Without.
Alliance versus Horde again, man.
Yeah.
I want to
Really?
see.
We had that in Battle for
Yeah.
Azeroth, and honestly, it was
Fine.
I don't think they
butchered.
can go back. I don't think they can go back.
I think this will be like an internal turmoil, from the gods. The what are the guys called? The
Titans.
No, not the Titans.
Nubians.
Whatever.
Nubians.
The Nubians.
The dark gods, man. The ones that
Void
get in your
Lords.
head.
Oh, old
Yeah.
gods.
Old gods. Old
Yeah.
I
gods
want the
are
old gods
Yeah.
to get in their heads.
okay.
And
Okay,
create
hold on.
like a civil war.
Hold on.
Another
So hold on.
corruption plotline.
So let's talk about that. That'll transition us into season 4. 10.2.7 just came out. Have any of y'all done we'll call it the pre-expansion quest?
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Shawnee, do you want to give us a quick rundown? If you don't, I can do it. It's fine.
No, you do it.
Okay.
I feel like I'll miss
So
stuff.
it's very Illyria heavy. It's talking about how she's going to be a big player, and essentially Xalatath is taunting her. So because of the fact that she now feels like Xalatath is going to, as I think Khadgar puts it,
Protoss?
You would almost think.
So like she's worried that she's now a pawn in the game, so she kind of distanced herself from her family, yada yada yada. Okay, but the big point that comes out of the end of this is that the reason why she's called the Harbinger is because oh god, the Ethereals, I can't remember their planet's name, it's like Kareth or something like that, had the exact same thing happen on their planet. Okay, they called it the Radiant Song, I think is what they call it, the Radiant Song. We got the quest right here. The Radiant Song. And let me scroll down just to find the name of the planet. Koresh is the name of their planet, okay? So, spoilers again if you haven't done the quest. But the long and short of it is that the Ethereal heard this same song that we saw in the launch trailer, and they didn't respond in time, and the Void Lord, oh god, he's got another name. It doesn't, just imagine Void Lord, dark guy. He essentially consumed their planet's soul, okay? And so we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen to us. And so that's the information we gathered from the fact that she got this dark heart. She's going to use it to summon, the Void Lords, because they're worse than the old gods. The old gods are like the generals of the Void Lords. The Void Lords are, bigger and badder. And there's even a video from Bellular, I think, where the idea is that this Void Lord is like the size of a planet, just like the Titans, just like Sargeras was. And that Sargeras will be the last Titan, as the last expansion of this trilogy will be about, and he is, going to help us stop him effectively. That's the rumors. But yeah, like we're understanding now that this is going to be a very Void Lord heavy story. And to your point, Technique, you said you kind of want some manipulation going on there. I'm sure Illyria will be a pawn player in this. I'm sure Anduin might also be, although I feel like that's just rehashing Shadowland's story, and that's not a good idea. But maybe it's Thrall, right? Maybe it's Magni. We don't know yet, obviously, and there's a lot of story to be told there.
And
but
they definitely
go ahead.
They definitely make it seem like people will be pawns because they're like changing people's memories.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's like, that's not what happened. They're like, oh yeah, it is.
I think that they're manipulating her, but yeah. Like,
oh my god, I have an opinion. I need to talk about it.
Oh.
They need to put the corruption plot to bed. Every plot of every expansion of every character is like, oh, like he was the best guy ever, and then he got corrupted by some outside force, and then he became evil. Nobody is just evil because they're nasty. Oh, everybody's always evil because they have been corrupted.
What about Eridicron?
Eridicron? Well, he's corrupted by the old gods. We just haven't found out yet.
No, he's not. No, he just hates the Titans so damn much. What about Farak? Farak was just like...
Hold on. These are not like established characters who were like good guys previously. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about Sylvanas. I'm talking about who else am I talking about?
Wasn't really ever good.
Hold on. Did you say Sylvanas is not really ever good?
Yeah. She was in her the whole time.
She was a high elf ranger general before she became undead. Oh my god.
Okay, but then she became undead. So, and then she was like,
Johnny, go get popcorn. We'll be here a minute.
Hold on.
I wish you gotta have some popcorn, dude.
She got corrupted like multiple times, like more than once. Like I'm just saying, like literally nobody ever just goes bad because they're nasty. You know what I mean? Even fucking like what's the orc guy, the evil fell orc guy. He was like nasty, and then he got corrupted by fell energy. Gul'dan, yeah. It's like, dude, Can
May
somebody
have someone
just
to blame. Yeah.
just be bad just because they're bad? Like,
Yeah, someone you thought was good the whole time and just reveals that, hey, you know what? I was in this for me
What
the
about
whole
the jailer?
time.
The jailer was bad the whole time.
no, but he
Nah,
was
man.
the whole time. What I'm saying is they do this corruption plot of like, oh, remember this guy? He was the best ever.
I'm
And then
kinda
they did it
down
with
with this
Andrew and in
angle.
Shadowlands too. They were like, oh, Andrew, and remember this like good guy? Oh, he's corrupted now. He's so bad. You know, like
Maybe
put it to
Thrall's
bed.
bad.
Oh, Neltharion also. They did it with Deathwing. He was the really good guy, and then the
We never
fucking
saw
evil
that
got
side of
his
him though.
head. He was the Earth Warder.
But
Come
we
on.
never saw that. We just always knew him as Deathwing because he was like
Where's
that for
Loremaster Flux when
millennia.
you need him anyway?
Right. Okay, I won't
Floor
go on,
Master
but this is
Flux.
a huge pet peeve of mine. Is
So,
that
anyways,
Tyrande also she had a issue where she was.
anyways, let's move on
crazy.
to season 4. But I'm honestly pretty excited with. I know it's going to be a lot of Void Lord stuff, which may not necessarily be good for 6 years straight, but. You got a little dash of Iridicron, you've got a little dash of the Nerubian Empire, and it sounds like the Sunwell is going to be a big player in it next expansion, which I think the Sunwell and all that kind of lore behind it is really cool. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm hoping for a lot of good things. But our main topic today is season 4, and I wanted to get a quick report card from y'all. But before we do, what's your favorite dungeon now that we've been 3 weeks in? We've seen a lot of the tuning passes. How are you guys feeling about Mythic Plus? So Shiny, we'll start with you. You haven't done that much actually, right? We pulled you into a 10 Ruby. Tell us how that went.
I had to play with 2 hunters, so I thought of jumping in a tub with a toaster.
Okay, hold on.
Mildly.
Hold on. What you messaged me about this? What
He's
about the group
blaming
comp
us.
really tilted you?
You know what it was? Because I love you as a person.
It was me.
No, it's when. How can I word this?
We're gonna have our hearts broken here in a second, guys.
No, I
Say it, man.
I love everyone I play with because I choose to play with them. I'm not forced. But sometimes where I'm healing, I feel like there's this expectation to heal like I'm in an MDI team, but yet I have a group comp that is very far from an MDI team playing a class that is not very. I'm on a class for healing that is not very high up. So, trying to play it like all the videos and everything, where they're like, you got to play it like this at this level. And everyone is very good, but we're also not on like optimal characters that have a lot of extra healing or extra help to help out with it.
Do you think if we had, and then, again, this is more of an us problem, but do you think that if we had everyone on the meta characters, it would make a difference? Because my answer is going to be no, it wouldn't. They'd still fuck up.
Yeah, it would.
It would make a difference in the sense of there's a potential for them to not. It's not the fucking up. It's just I was thinking about it the other day, like if I was to play, Rhett instead again, at least I have some help to the group. But like hunters, not that they're bad, I just don't feel they give that, like, if Scrap needs healing and Haywire's on his hunter, he can't help her. He can't like chuck an extra heal on her. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect the DPS to be off healing other DPS.
But if we want to run at this level that Frank expects us to,
a 9,
or like he
wasn't a 10. It was a 10.
It was a 10.
Still.
Okay, well then you heal
it's
10.
early. Yeah, Scrap. I think you reserve any judgment just until you get in there.
Reserving judgment. I'm just saying the class, like 2 hunters is okay. It's fine.
I think if we were higher geared, right? Because the gear cap is effectively, we'll call it 525, even though I know it's higher. If the gear was where we were normally at the end of the season, we're going to be doing 10s, if not higher, easily by that point. But
yeah, and
then week 2 is the first fortified week.
I guess in the end, 100%. It's my first season trying to heal, and like I don't mind creative input, but at the same time, I feel the group comp sometimes can make a difference.
I want to throw in a
unfair to
support
say
Shawnee quick. I didn't see the run. I wasn't there, but dude, I tried to heal a little bit last patch, and it's like that's the only That's the only role in the game right now that's got like a high level of stress, as far as I'm concerned, man.
I think it's
Like,
really the only
tanking's-
one that's stressful.
Tanking's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, tanking's easy unless you just haven't done it in a long time. You need to know routes and stuff. That can be a
Yeah.
little stressful.
Yeah.
DPS is stressful because like you can easily make a mistake that will get you killed. No one can help you. But that's also from inexperience. But healing, you just got to be good. You got to be really good, and you got to know what to expect, and you got to know like how to play your class. You got to know where to stand, where not to stand. You got to know it all to be
And
a
I
healer
don't-
right now.
I'm not saying that anyone's playing bad. I want to clarify that. I think everyone that was in the key plays well.
I didn't think we played our best though.
No, but I mean, overall, I'm not saying like anyone's bad. I want to make
Yeah.
sure that's a known fact. It's just,
Tiffany,
when
will you
you look
message
at-
Haywire and let him know that Shawnee thinks he's terrible?
No, I
I'm
love
done.
when
I already had that
when he
conversation.
uses Invoker, having someone to Zephyr in between like Orb Masteries for me on big long pulls and stuff isn't dying. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's nice
Yeah.
to have that extra help.
I like playing Shadow Priest for that reason. I feel like I can be somewhere in between, a DPS and a healer. I can, like, if I need to bubble someone when I know something nasty's about to come, I can do it. I can use, the whatever the fucking passive void healing is. I can do that when you got the ramping like team damage coming. There's a lot of things like that I do like playing, and I wish more of that was happening in the game.
Hunters have no defensives. I've been told a million times. So,
No, they're just very squishy.
yeah.
Well,
So if I have
but it
two-
makes
So healing two very squishy characters compared to
I think-
maybe having to heal one
yeah.
makes it a lot easier.
fair.
My follow-up question to you, Shawnee, though, and I think you're going to stick it out with healing. You made it clear to us that you're going to try to make sure this works because you don't
Well,
want to
I
lose the
have to.
$100. Yeah.
There's a bet. Yeah.
Oh
But
shit! What's the bet? Clarify.
Someone named Lithian said he doesn't think I'll make it through the season healing, and then like the next day, this
What's
person
the
named
definition of that? Like you,
I got to
what-
heal for the season, and
So
then the
what-
next
what
day, this
IO do you have
technique
to
guy
hit?
was like, "No, it's just I got to keep healing for a season."
Oh,
And then the next day, this technique guy's like, "Let's do a little key because Shawnee's healing," and I don't know about that. So now it's just like,
Technique, you got thrown under the bus.
well, I hadn't seen you all season. I
Yeah,
figured you were like on an ult or something. I didn't know.
it was week one,
That's fair. Yeah.
so it's
That's
all
fair.
right.
Watch your
I don't know,
mouth.
I guess in my head you're like a rogue, and then to see
So-
you come on your healing paladin, I was like, oh, he's fucking around today. Let's whatever.
No, it's
he's not
super-
taking it
super on.
seriously, Shawnold.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And no, I got talking from our Lord and Savior Frank, and willing to give it out for the season.
Now that I know that this is your season choice, we can run some shit together. Warrior's
All
been
right,
buffed,
all
by
right.
the way.
I want to get back to my question. My question,
What was
Shawnee,
the
is
question?
this is
What is the
so
question?
this new squish from 20 down to 10 and everything in between. I personally believe that going from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, etc., is essentially a 2-key jump because they obviously had to squish down the percentages of how everything scaled. And I think that is making I think it's better for the game, right? Because now each key, but it also lures me, for example, into saying, I think we can do a 10, no problem. We may not time it, of course, but I think we can do no problem. And then we get in there on a fortified week of Ruby life pools of all dungeons where I think the trash absolutely smashes, right? And then I put you in a position, of course. So I'm saying all this because do you feel more engaged with the season after we've done, we'll call it 2 weeks of content, or do you feel less engaged, even though I know you're going to keep to it? Are you chomping at the bits a little more or not?
Unfairly, I'm less engaged because it's just the end of it, and it's my personality.
Mhm.
I'm engaged in the sense that I want to prove all you guys wrong and smash you, in a nice way, and be like, you guys be like, dear Lord, Shawnee's the best holy paladin we've ever came across.
Okay.
That's what I want to see, man. I want to be the best
So
warrior
that-
tank.
So that's why I want to
Other
play
than
the
Pika,
season.
he's really good.
But yeah, I'm not. The squish didn't. I don't care about the number in that sense. Like, I don't care if it's a 20, a 10, a 50, a 100. I just want to do well.
All right. Well, Scrap, what about you? What's your favorite dungeon so far?
Ruby Life Pools.
Okay.
I said it before, but that's my favorite one in the
So
Dragonflight.
you're sticking with it though. Yeah, you still happy
Yeah.
with it? Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
And how's the mythic changes? How's the mythic runs? Mythic plus, I
It's
should say,
good.
runs.
I feel like there needs to be some tunings. I feel like definitely this week, like some dungeons feel way harder than others.
And by this
Like
week, do you mean a fortified week or a tyrannical week?
Tyrannical week. It's
Okay.
tyrannical this week, is it
Yeah,
not?
yeah. I just
Yeah,
people don't
yeah.
know this week is if they're watching this later.
Yeah, tyrannical. Because like
Week 3.
Oldemon is really, really hard. I feel like unfairly hard. And then last week they were like, we'll add a minute to it. It's like, okay, that's not what is hard about it. It's like these healing checks are kind of insane on the bosses.
Well,
Whereas I feel like compared it to like an Azure Vault or something, it's not
Azure
as
is
hard.
the easiest right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I feel like there's always tuning that needs to be done. Maybe because we're under geared, it feels extra hard, but I do feel like there's a bit of an imbalance between the dungeons.
If you can make 2 changes as the most important changes, you're the dev.
To each dungeon?
No, just list your top 2 overall.
Uh,
And I mean by boss, like not by, because I think the trash is
by
hard,
boss?
but I don't think it needs any changing. I think it's just like, maybe like the dragons and Ruby Life Pool, those 2 dragons that mess everyone up.
Okay,
But,
okay. Oldemon, the snake boss, the one that puts the dot on
shards.
people,
Yeah.
that needs to be cut in half. Or go on half as frequently or something. Because it's like, if you get it 3 times, it's like you can't survive without like intensely cooldown and focused healing,
Well, yeah,
or a really big defensive cooldown.
I don't think that's fair though, because there's not really much other healing going out other than that shard. I would, if I were to make a change,
half your health though. It's like you have no reaction time.
But the thing is what, like,
there's other stuff happening. There's like the stomp and
that's
stuff.
The thing I would change.
Half your health though, right?
I would say that they should make sure that it never lines up with a stomp happening so quickly or so like inconveniently with the shards, because that's what usually kills people. It's not the shards, because as a healer I go, cool, Scrap Claw's taking a ton of damage, focus.
Yeah.
And the AoE is fine on its own too, but it's when they come together, that person who has shards is like tick, dead, Maybe
it's a practice thing, but I definitely like if I have the debuff, the bleed, if there's nothing else happening, I'm kind of watching my health and counting on my healer to do it, because it's like if I'm getting focused healed, I shouldn't need to pop big defensive. I'm saving that big defensive for when I have it and I see the stomp coming, because the stomp is on a cast time, like you can see him casting it. But sometimes it's not enough. Like
wait, you're using your defensive for the stomp?
For if I have the bleed and the stomp.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Only if I like. That's the thing, is I'm also hesitant to use it just when I have the bleed, because like I could just be healed without and not die.
You could. There's a lot of questions about that lately, but
because the thing is that if I have the bleed and the stomp happens, I will die without a defensive. So it's like I don't want to waste my defensives when the healer could keep me up. But there's a lot going on. I think that boss needs a little bit of a tweak. I mean, it does more than a third of your health. I think it does like 500k when we were doing the 10 or the 9. Like when
maybe.
I was looking back at it, it's too much. It's too much. It's just take that one down a little bit. I'm trying to think of other bosses that we've been walled by.
I'm trying to think of some right now.
I feel like Ruby Life Pools is good. Like the problem that people have is on the second boss, but you just need to nail the dance. If you nail the dance, no problem. It's so
I don't even think it's the second boss. It's the first boss.
It's
I think
the
that's
dragons.
Oh, the first one.
The dragons are a problem.
Totally mechanical. That one doesn't have any issues. Like that's just like dancing right, position yourself right. I think
love that second boss, dude.
I love the second boss.
Yeah,
I
second
do
boss
too.
is great.
Well, in our key, the biggest problem with the first boss was everyone went the opposite direction.
I literally was about to say, Shani, that I wanted to play a clip of Scrap saying, I can do this correctly. What are you doing wrong, Shani? What are you doing wrong with? And here I go. Let me put it right on top of the group.
Well, I wasn't paying attention. I was like, I have plenty of time to get over there. Normally when I'm on a warrior, I just leap over to where I'm supposed to go. And I thought I had time to like get on the other end. Anyway, but I understand it. I just need to practice a bit more. I can't think of another boss that I feel like needs heavy tuning. Like, can you?
Brackenhide, I feel, is in a good place.
I
think they fixed the last boss in Azure Vault, which I felt was overtuned. They made that much easier.
I thought of something.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite dungeons, to answer your other question. Like, I love AV.
Yeah, I do too. the third boss on Brackenhide, the hyenas need to have way shorter range. That's the other thing I would fix.
Yeah, they did have a pretty long
They have
height range.
absurdly. They've like the visual range of it. It doesn't equate to how far it will kill you from.
My enhancement shaman can't get in there to melee because they're just gonna turn to me and bite me, and it's like,
well,
it
the
doesn't
other
matter
thing
where
is
they
that
are.
like I'm kind of trying to keep an idea of like how far like am I good or not, and it's like, dude, you're never good. You just kind of assume you're never good. They need to take that. Those are my 2 fixes, and
All
then
right.
I'm done.
Technique. Favorite?
I use drinking.
I think Azure Vaults, dude.
Okay.
I'm a prot warrior. That's all I play right now, and I'm a little partial to like places where I can spell reflect effectively, and it's like something that
That's gotta
sets
be
me
fun
apart
as a
from
warrior,
the
I
rest
bet.
of the tanks. It is fun. You know, you can reflect a lot of things in that dungeon. A lot of bosses' abilities you can reflect, and then there's Algathar's Academy, which again, a lot of mobs I can reflect. There's very like as a tank, there's a lot to control in the trash pools there that's relevant, that like you have to do it, like Mystic Blast and anyway, there's a lot of abilities there, like the what are the guys called, the Ravager frontal charge guys that you pull the dragon little
Yeah, the
dragon
one
guys
that
in.
you can cheese.
Yeah. There's a lot of unique like trash pulls in there, but also the bosses are super interesting. I think actually the Dragonflight dungeons are all really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do think they're some of the best dungeons we've seen. But yeah, those
and I mean,
two
that's not even
may be-
including Dawn of the Infamous this season, which I think was one of the best dungeons and
I like
overall.
Dawn, yeah.
Okay, follow-up
I don't really
question
care
too,
for that
though.
one.
So Technique, you got a buff this week, right? In general, season 4 is kind of treated as a throwaway season, right? At least it has been for the past 2 seasons. But tuning hasn't really been surgical enough. Like they nerfed Brewmasters for some reason, and they did nerf Vengeance, but right now I think it was in 15 plus keys, Vengeance makes up somewhere of like 97% of tanks.
Yeah.
Right?
No, not that much.
Yeah.
It's 65%.
No, it is. It was. No, that's at
It is
10 plus.
90 some.
10 plus is 65%.
Oh, is it 10 plus?
Yeah.
Okay.
But either way,
well,
right?
Just
That's
like
astonishing
Resto.
to me. Like, it's so weird because I feel strong. Like I'm doing 8s and Danny's like, my healer, you know, he's like, I don't even heal you, you know?
No, you're crazy
And-
amount of healing as a warrior. Like you don't
Shielding.
need a lot.
Crazy amount of shielding.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing is he's like, dude, I passively heal you. I'm working on other things, but I don't have the control that a demon hunter does, and I think that's causing the group to do more and require more coordination, is what others are saying, right? And you know the DPS, I don't really care if I'm doing 30k, you know, per second less than a demon hunter. Yeah, I'd rather be on top than on bottom, but it doesn't matter. So I recently actually just changed my spec to take advantage of the buff that they provided to Disrupting Shout, which gives you like an AoE taunt and silence for 6 seconds on everything around you every 1.3 minutes, so every 75 seconds. It's actually really strong. It's like a budget version of what demon hunters get 2 charges of, which is stupid. And then I actually took points out of the Dragon Roar and Bleed to get Shockwave on a lower cooldown so that I can stun the whole group and do a little bit of damage with it. So, you know, I'm hoping that kind of closes the gap between Warrior and Demon Hunter a little bit, but it's still so much stronger. And seeing those numbers that you guys posted earlier in Discord, 95% Demon Hunter
So something like that.
is showing, 65% for 10 plus, and 3.4% for Prot Warrior. That's embarrassing, man.
That's tough.
I mean, it was like literally 65% for Demon Hunter, and like what was Paladin, like 11%.
Do you
That was number
forgive?
2.
Well, and Shawnee, sorry, I'll open up to Shawnee and Scrap. Do you guys have anything to add to the tuning?
Oh, like class tuning?
Yeah, because right, Scrap, you got sorry, balance. We'll talk about tier sets in a second. Actually, I'll put that on ice.
I would say, yeah,
anything else you want to add, Shawnee?
I will hold my opinion because it relates to tier set. So
I guess for me, I would rather them focus on the expansion at this point.
Okay, that was my follow-up question. It's like, okay, so are you guys okay with it, given that this is the throwaway season?
Yeah.
That, like, you know, just go work on more within, make it
I wanna-
great. It doesn't matter.
I'll make
We're
one
all
comment,
fine.
man.
Okay.
I want to comment on what Shani just said. I hate this is a throwaway season, and I do want to look forward to War Within. But I was watching Bajira's stream, who's another warrior player, and he PvPs a lot and works out, apparently, bodybuilder. So anyway, I was
Technique.
watching his
He's
stream.
qualified.
Disqualified.
Great dude. And one of his Twitch viewers raised a question like, "Oh, do you think like he was playing the alpha, and he's like, oh, do you think this is like different enough than Dragonflight, or does it just seem like Dragonflight 2.0?" And he's like, yeah, like I guess it kind of does, but I'm having fun with it. And to me, I was kind of actually thinking the same thing. It's like War Within seems like more of a patch to Dragonflight than it does a new expansion. As far as like what's actually happening to our characters and stuff, like we're basically playing the same talent builds with a hero talent thrown in, which is kind of cool. Whatever.
I mean,
I don't
know. My opinion of that is, if you think of like the expansions, I agree technique with that. Because when I'm thinking of like, oh, like Burning Crusade, I'm like, oh, it's like Outland, it's like a whole new place, Illidan and stuff. It's like, okay, the next one, Northern. It's like everything has a really strong visual, like Deathwing on the front of Cataclysm, Dragonflight. We got the dragons. I don't really know what War Within is like.
Who's the bad guy?
Yeah, like it's kind of like there's no like
where are we going?
Spearheading character. There's no like oh, is this an ice expansion? Is this a forest expansion? And I think that that might seem like a really simple thing. It's like, oh, we don't have like a good visual just like an obvious visual
is the level cap gonna be 70 or 80 or what? What
do we have right now? 80.
I think that 80? I think that's what gives it the feel, is that like what is War Within? It's been World of Warcraft for fucking 7 expansions. What's different about this?
So let's answer this question right quick. So if we're gonna go from 70 to 80, but keep our talent trees, is every one of those points going into the hero talent tree?
So no, yeah, first and foremost, it is, yes, to answer your question, that is the answer to your question. But you say like you're not even getting the same talent tree. Like, didn't Warrior get their talents shuffled?
I mean, minimally, yeah, sure. They gave everyone Shockwave. It
what
took
were you expecting?
one of the I don't know.
Well,
to feel different.
Like Legion to BFA.
It's going to be the same. They're giving everyone the same shit they all took already. They just put it in different places. Yes.
Legion to BFA to Shadowlands, you didn't get any major talents. It's like you got extra stuff.
I guess that's fair.
That was my question. Going to be like, okay, but I hear the theme part of it, like ice versus pandas, and let's call it like pandas, the Asian like, influence.
What the hell is War Within?
Okay, I guess to wrap up my opinion, I think a lot's weighing on hero talents. I think everything needs to be not just passive 5%. I'm taking less magical damage. I want to see the demolish ability look cool as fuck. I want it to do damage. I want me to want to have it. I want something in the Fury tree to be cool as shit. I want for everyone's like hero talents to be something really cool and different.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think we got a bit spoiled going from Shadowlands to Dragonflight, because like we went from having these like little trees to these big giant trees with like total reworks of rotations and even class fantasy.
But those reworks came throughout the entire expansion too, right? A lot of people argued, right? Like Vengeance wasn't great until they did the rework. Ret Paladin had to do the rework.
I don't think that was intentional,
Holy Paladin
though,
did,
Frank. Frank, I don't think that was intentional.
of course it's not intentional. They go and do an expansion with unfinished. But my point being is that, excuse me, like if you want to argue that War Within is Dragonflight 2.0, I think that's more of just like, this is not a Dragonflight 2.0. I think this is like the new philosophy, right? Is that the expansions, and we gotta get back to season 4, but the expansions are about changing, adding a new set of dungeons and raids and all that stuff, of course, but just like kind of progressing the overall story. Whereas the talent trees and, the evergreen things like delves, for example, I think delves can be a really good idea if they turn out to be like the mage towers, level of scenarios.
I do think we're getting off topic a little bit, but like
a lot.
I do think that they're making a mistake, because like how many people do you play with that know what's going on in like the story right now, besides like Dragonflight dragons? Like, most people that we play with, the amount of story they get is restricted pretty much to what's on the cover and what the zone looks like.
So, but all the more reason, wouldn't you argue that it doesn't matter that we're going to Iceland or Pandaland or...
No, I think it needs to have a strong, theme, to be iconic. I'm worried when you look back and think about like what expansions were sick and what were kind of like not sick. I think like BFA had one of the least kind of obvious themes. Like on the outside, it's like, oh, it's war, and I think this one's kind of going down the same path. If that's I mean, BFI obviously had a lot of cool stuff going down. I mean, it was pirates, it was dinosaurs, it was all this stuff, but that was
we
kind of
raided
like
a capital city.
yeah, there was cool.
We went to the old gods world.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, but it's not quite as memorable as like Cataclysm, Deathwing, like Northrend, Arthas. Like thinking of like the big bad.
Okay.
Or the vibe, and I do think that's a mistake.
Is
but
it
that's a totally
worth-
different topic.
Is it worth sacrificing season 4 for them to continue to tighten the wrenches on alpha and beta and whatnot? Or do you think that, I mean, like, okay, you have two scenarios. One is they would have ended it on season 3 and it would have been a year of content in that same season. Or season 4. I think we all agree that this is the better scenario, right?
I mean, I like season 4. I still think that they need to have somebody working on balancing and stuff, which obviously they do. I don't think it's a throwaway season. I mean, it is for some people, so don't sub during that season. That's fine. I don't think the game is required to keep you addicted the whole time. Obviously, that's probably their philosophy because they need to be making money. But
is it something you prefer that they would do all the dragon, or let's call it next time, the war within dungeons? Or do you want them to maybe make this one the more chaotic random dungeon season?
Like how it is currently. What's the other option?
Shadowlands was the other option. Remember, season 4 Shadowlands was no. Oh well, that's not true. Tazavesh was in there, but it was like mostly no.
They had to do that with Shadowlands because it was the same dungeons for the rest of the 3 seasons, right? So I like what they're doing with this one, where it's like, hey, we're doing all these dungeons. I've really been surprised by how little I remember from these dungeons, and I think the fact that season 3 had none of these dungeons in it, we had a whole break and then we went back to them, was smart. Like they planned that correctly. I think this season's fun. I love the bullion system. I love the rotating raids. I think this is the correct way to do kind of a season where they need to have all their hands on deck on the new thing. But it's like, it's still fun. It's like you get to make your character awesome right away. You get to pick what gear they get. Like that's a season 4 sort of vibe.
Shawnee.
Yeah, sorry. This has gone on forever.
Well, before we move on to raids and bullions, anything you want to add about tuning?
I'm fine with how they're doing it, honestly.
Okay. Technique.
I would rather more within be better. I'm okay with it.
Tech.
I listened literally today to Nagura, who's a Twitch streamer. I listened to her interview with some developers about War Within, and one of the questions she raised to the developers was, do you like this season 4 where we rehash like season 1, 2, and 3 and do it again? Do you plan to continue doing this? Is this something that like we want to see again? And the answer from the developer was like, this is something that's a big topic for us. We're not completely satisfied with it. It's definitely not something that we, want to do forever. It's not something we're ready to commit to forever, but I think it's, we think it's turning out all right. And I kind of agree with that assessment. I think that season 4 as a throwaway season is a quick and easy solution that gives us something to do until the expansion is out. But I would prefer an actual season 4 that would engage me in some newer content. That's what I would prefer. And I think that as developers, they would probably prefer that too. But I know that Blizzard is going through a lot right now with the the acquisition and with suits and stuff coming their way. So it's probably an excuse for them to just be like, oh, let's make season 4 like a rehash of 1, 2, and 3 again.
I'd say
I don't like it though. I don't like doing the shit again.
But them saying they have the next, 10 years of expansions worked out makes me think, like, if you can work out that much, I guess you could work out whatever season 4 is going to be ahead of time if you know you're doing it like this. So maybe we won't ever have a season like this again.
No, I don't think that's it's not that they ran out of ideas. It's not that they
I'm not saying they don't have ideas. I'm just saying now that they're like promoting the idea that they have their idea for the next 10 years. It would almost be like, why are you running out of an idea partway through?
No, no, okay, that's where I think there's a
I think the
misunderstanding.
cadence is planned out for 6 years, and I think it should be, and that's what we should expect.
Hold on. Okay, so let me frame
players.
2 scenarios here to you, okay? Because I think we're misunderstanding what's going on here. They take 2 years to make the content for a new expansion, let's just say, right? So there's a choice of season 1 being 6 months, season 2 being 6 months, season 3 being 6 months, and season 4 being 6 months. But season 4 is as I called it once, the greatest hits. It wasn't argumentatively not the greatest hits. It's not what I meant. But like a revisit to everything that is like a celebration of Dragonflight. Let's put it that way, okay? So that's your scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is season 1 is 8 months, season 2 is 8 months, season 3 is whatever's left, 14 months, right? Which is what every other expansion aside from Shadowlands, well, Shadowlands was its own nightmare, but and that's the difference. It's not that they ran or that the idea fell apart at the end. It's that they said, okay, we want to deliver a cadence of expansions every 18 months. We're not there yet, but that's what we're aiming for. And what they wanted to do was, okay, well, we need to start working on more within so we can get it in your hands by August as opposed to December. So we're going to just give you season 4 as the celebration of Dragonflight, and instead of just season 3 taking forever. It's not like they said, oh, we had another raid that we had to cut. You know, you could argue that maybe with Shadowlands.
I gotta argue with you, Frank, man, because they have full control over what makes the player impatient. And to me, what makes me impatient is when I got nothing else to do, and all my dudes are maxed. And instead of making the game, this is another question the same interviewer raised. Nagura's question was, it seems like a lot of the rewards are front loaded right here, and you know you're giving us so many ways to catch up.
Yeah. There's an argument there. I get that.
Next in fucking 3 weeks. What do you want me to do for the rest of this patch?
Well, hold on.
Is this something that you want me to...
We play a lot more than the average player does.
I was going to say...
Okay.
Yeah.
But now I'm bored, and I'm not going to make an alt, man.
Is that a problem, though? Is that a problem to say, like, I've done 4 weeks of it, and I'd go play something else?
Because, and this is a tougher opinion, and maybe a lot of people disagree, but I feel like in the MMO space, not every player deserves to get every single item in the game, and not every player deserves to see all the content. Deserves. I just mean, maybe they can't achieve it. I don't mean
we've talked about this extensively.
There's a bunch of shit in this game that I don't do because I don't like fishing, I don't like cooking, I don't like all this other questing. I don't care about all that stuff. I want to do mythics and I want to do raids. That's what I do. That's how I spend my 3 hours a day playing the game. And then you got these guys that like log in for 3 hours a week. You're not going to be at that level. You just won't be. But Blizzard's trying to find a way to make it so that they can be. And that's breaking the game.
What does that have to do with season 4?
But even beyond that, hold on, time out.
Why was season 4 with the cadence?
Hold on, why is the person who's playing 3 hours? Okay, Shawnee, you're the example of the 3 hour a week player. Okay.
Whoa.
Is that fair?
Well, he's blessed with a community that can walk.
No.
Let's do it.
You're Shawnee. You could do these keys without us.
He certainly could.
Anyways,
saying
Shawnee,
you should do lower keys and then throwing like we carry you through shit.
You're not running a raid to get booleans, right?
I did Elefire yesterday and got all the same booleans that you guys have.
Okay.
No, I'm not. This season, compared to other seasons, I play way too much.
You play just as much as we do.
Yeah, or more. I'm opening a new tattoo shop, so right now I'm kind of busy with that, and this season being.
But my point being is that you're not gearing up at a rate where you're going to be fully geared in the next week or two, right? Whereas
I'm way behind.
Yeah. And so that's my point technique is like, yes, they will get the Boolean that gets them their favorite trinket the same rate that you do, right? But they're not going to be doing +10s immediately. And if they are, it's because it's just like them smashing their head into a wall saying, why is my 200s never use their cooldowns correctly? And my point being is that I don't think it's that watered down that you're getting your gear that quickly unless you play very quickly. Yes, the people who play 20 for 30 hours a week are going to be gearing up much quicker than they have in the past. So to the next topic of the raids, cycling, I think we all are happy to see that it's at least cycling. We're getting a little variety for the 3 week window instead of the 1 week window. But the real takeaway here is the Boolean system, which is taken from season 4 of Shadowlands, which was universally liked back then with the dinars. But they even made it better because things cost a little less. It's indefinite now, whereas last time they did this, it was you can only get 3 items. And then to our surprise this week, we had the Mythic weekly, so 4 Mythic dungeons weekly. Normally you would get a heroic raid random gear. Now instead you get to use your booleans to specifically choose your gear. I can assume, Technique, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you do not like that system because it's essentially rewarding whatever you want. You get to pick it and it's yours. And
I don't hate the Boolean system. I think that it's a great like bad luck protection system, and there are so many unique items in the current game that like it's like, oh, this best in slot actually matters. You know, there's traditionally in WoW, there's not many flavor text best in slot items. It's just like, oh, that's the one that's got haste and versatility on it. That's the one I want. And there's like 15 that have haste and crit, or 15 that have, you know, haste and master, or whatever. But there's so many now that like work in tandem together because of the fire damage thing and then the ring. So the ring is a big piece this patch that you can use with all the other fire items, and every class almost can benefit from that. So everyone's best in slot is centered around the seal, which, you know, benefits from fire damage done.
talking about the one from Vault, first boss.
Yep.
Darian is chosen.
And then every other item that can do fire damage. So basically everyone's like building around that this expansion.
Can I give my opinion? I'm ready to give my opinion.
Oh, sure. Technique, your opinion's watered down. Please concede your time to
it's just going on.
Scrap. You are 80% of this podcast. Give someone else a chance.
I'm sitting so patiently.
Technique, would you please wrap up so Scrap can take over?
I don't even know what I was saying. But,
I don't know what you're saying either.
No, man, I don't hate the Booleans, but when you combine the Boolean thing with everything else, as far as like it's everything being simpler and easier and quicker and like all this other stuff, there's just too many ways to get gear so quickly. And I feel like when the Panda patch comes out next week, no one's going to be online except for that. And I feel like that's
but it's okay if we all migrate to that to have fun in a different way.
I don't
oh, you don't want to play that. That's okay. So what I'm hearing then is Boolean's good, but only for season 4 when it's the greatest hit or the
Can I
celebration.
get my now?
I think if we're getting
Shawnee,
one
would you like to go next? No. Let Scrap Cough explode. Let her explode.
No, can I say one tiny thing before Scrap goes on for 40 minutes, which
we're already over our time.
Yeah, I think Booleans are needed this season merely because everyone has tier sets from season 1 to season 4, and there were definitely certain trinkets and gear that worked better with certain season tier sets. So how else would you?
Well, and I think it's also important because you're only going to see the raid once every 3 weeks, so you're only going to have 1 or 3 less chances or whatever to get that gear.
But yes, I'm now ready to listen to Scrap.
The floor is yours.
It's just a quick opinion. Is that like the reason?
I'm timing it.
Okay, well, go on then. Time it. I don't care. So the Booleans are so super fun because it takes the RNG out of it. You can actually work towards that piece of gear that you really, really want. Maybe in season 1, you never got your Storm Eater's boon or something because some other stupid characters in their alts came in and always took it from you. Like, that shit happens.
It's a tanking trinket.
Maybe you didn't ever get the best weapon. Yeah, a tanking trinket, right? So this Booleans, you can actually pick out what the best weapons you want. You cannot do that in any other season because it, like Technique says, it speeds you up too fast. You don't end up playing the rest of the season. So if you're going to do it, you need to do it in season 4. And that's why we need season 4.
Do you think we're getting flooded with Booleans?
No, I think I'm getting Booleans, but there's like 3 pieces of gear I want. But honestly, I think season 4 really encourages people to try different characters, or like, because like I'm starting to think like War Within, you know, what character do I want to play? Like I kind of want to start a new character and try something new. And the fact that I can like easily get like top-ish gear on that character is like really exciting for me because it's like, oh, I can try, you know, like this character in the most optimal gear situation without a bunch of RNG of having to wait until we're doing alts in the raid, you know, like that sort of thing. So like I love Booleans. I understand why you can't have them in every season because it does speed up the gearing so much. I'm glad they have them in season 4 because I do want the chance to kind of like build my character the way I want to without the RNG aspect of like always getting shafted and losing my rolls in raid.
So you're saying it's a season 4. To 1 minute 40 seconds. So
That's
you're saying it's only a season 4 thing though, yeah?
Yes, it should only be a season 4 thing. I mean, if they're gonna introduce something like to help with RNG, I missed in Shadowlands where you could re-roll. Like, I don't know why they took that away because I feel like it doesn't necessarily guarantee you gear. It just makes you feel like you're
Shadowlands
getting
didn't
a.
have that feature.
No, it's not Shadowlands. BFA.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, BFA. You could get an extra re-roll on stuff.
Yeah.
Like that gave you a little more agency to think like, oh, like I really want this piece. I can use my re-roll on it, and then you still might not get it. Like bullions are really fun, but they do kind of like I kind of feel like I just want all the gear on my hunter right now, and then I'm gonna switch characters like right afterwards, which is like an exciting thing for me. Not like I'm like, oh, I don't have anything left to do. I'm like, oh, I can get the best gear right now.
I gotta interject this. I feel like
I'm gonna add a minute to her time.
No, you asked me a question, you asshole.
I feel like you just sparked a great idea. I feel like we should be able to like dump all the shit that I would be vendoring. Like, give me something for it that I can then go and buy an item that I want.
So
not just give me 2 billions for a weekly quest.
Kind
of. You know, like let me dissolve, like basically disenchant the items. Yeah,
they tried it.
I like that idea.
They did it in BFA. I think it was.
I think
if I'm farming mythics, man, and I'm doing the same shit, and I'm getting items but not what I want.
What you're getting is aspect crest and worm crest and stuff. That's what you're getting for running all those keys. So you can upgrade stuff.
I think there's a general sentiment that like it'd be nice if I could target one thing, right, in the season. And so my idea was, I was so surprised by this weekly quest giving 2 bullions. I think it's flooding the market with bullions right now, but that's okay. It's season 4. But like for me, what I want to carry forward is I want to carry that once, maybe twice a season, like maybe the second week and the 10th week or something like that, kind of like how we have the rotating weeklies right now. Mm-hmm. If you do that mythic track, or if you have a raid version of it, that week you can choose one piece of gear from the heroic raid, right? So it's not random for that 1 week as it has been in the past, but it's only, once every 5, 10, whatever weeks.
We already have like the what do you call it? The guy who turns gear into raid gear? I always call it transmogrifier, but that's what it's called.
Oh, I can't think of the right word. Yes, I know you mean.
I always call it the wrong word.
The catalyst.
Tier gear.
Catalyst, yeah, the catalyst. So we have the catalyst for targeting tier pieces and stuff. The only thing that it struggles with is weapons and trinkets. And oftentimes those are things that contribute a significant amount to your damage. And the issue is, in my opinion, is balancing. Like if there's one trinket that is S triple plus that, you're fighting every other melee, strength user to get in the raid, that's not good. The trinket should be balanced, in my opinion.
So let's take this idea in a different direction then. Do they add catalyst charges to trinkets and weapons?
Fuck they should.
With the small chance that you don't know what you're catalysting on those, but you could see that S++ weapon and or trinket that you wanted. Because this is the way I look at it. After 4 charges of the catalyst, you don't need it anymore, right? Like you might need it. True. Obviously, you might need it. Like if you get a higher level and you say, "Okay, now I'm going to do this," right? But for me, like I'm going to have. I think we had like 10 charges by the end of the season last. Well, it'd be cool though if I didn't get Farok's Ray chart, that I could say, "Okay, well I've got this trinket, not very good, but it is hero track. Maybe it's myth track even. Let me put this in there and roll the dice this week to see if I get Farok's thing. Maybe I don't, but that's okay. Like
that sounds so frustrating.
Yeah, but it's better than not having any option, right?
Well, I like to use the catalyst to fill out the transmog, because again, I never win any rolls in raid.
Moving on. Let's talk about the catalyst. His one and only purpose is to get tier sets. Tier sets
transmog
are tier sets are a contentious point this season. Just some backstory. They came in, let us vote on all the chosen tier sets we wanted for our class and specs. And I'm going to say, made a promise that they would tune everything to be caught up in power. Because, some things, one, were as part of their old design before remodels of their talent trees. And 2, they may have not been great, but they felt fun. Like, it's like a really cool interaction, but it didn't hit very strong. So anyways, they made a promise that if we didn't choose season 3 tier sets, they would buff them to catch up. And they did what it looks like, make a pass at trying to do that. But there's 2 problems that arose from this problem. Season 3 players who are using the same Season 3 set for Season 4 have to replace all 4 pieces at once, or they risk losing the entire set. Arcane had that problem. Technique, you're saying Warrior had that same problem?
Yeah, Warriors. Yeah.
Yep. So you had to replace all 4. So it means as a mage, I just did it this week, luckily, because I got very lucky with some of my vaults. But
Well, I didn't.
yeah, see? So you're sitting there in 483 gear or whatever, and you're going to have to stay in 4 slots of your gear in 43 until you can catalyst at least all 4 other pieces into it.
Okay.
So that's problem number 1. And then
Well,
problem number 2.
I haven't a single piece of tier.
I have no... Yeah, go on.
I can only I can only catalyst 3 of them.
Yeah, right now you got 3.
Let me tell you now.
I haven't been lucky enough to loot a single piece of tier.
You get Keystone Master,
I'm
you get a
stuck
free
with.
one.
I've got all these pieces. Well, no, you don't, because I've got Keystone Master. I'm 2250.
Well, you get a free tier piece.
You gotta go pick up a free piece of gear.
Well, I've got that thing, and then I've got 3 catalysts. So maybe I do need to go do that.
Yeah, you need to go. You get to work.
Yeah.
And in fairness, that took 3 weeks.
Anyway,
right?
Anyway, here's the thing, man. It's frustrating because, like, for this particular class, I don't know. I just think Blizzard was taking the easy way out. Like, oh, vote on it, community.
No, the easy way out would have been just copy and paste.
Well, sure, but like they already incorporated our Season 1 bonuses into our talent trees, so that was a no-brainer. Like, we're not going to vote on that. It's in our talent trees now.
Well, maybe for you, but not for anyone else.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's like
I just mean
a
there
good
was no
problem to have, I
choice
guess.
for us. There's no choice. It's like we're doing Season 3 again.
It. Yeah, I get it.
And
Maybe it's not as exciting, but
love as a prot warrior. I already don't love Season 3 bonuses. Yes, it's super strong for single target, but like it's not super strong for Mythic Plus because it's just doing damage to a single target.
Well, the other problem is that there's some tier sets that are actually still broken in the sense of not being powerful enough. Survival hunter is one of them. Balanced druid, which did get fixed this week. I don't know if it fixed it well enough, but it did get at least addressed in the patch this week. And then there's like blood DK. Here's another one. So that's the other part of the problem, is that promise they made wasn't really kept. There's been actually a ton of bugs even within this patch. Like, people couldn't upgrade their legendaries, and then they gave a discount to upgrading, through booleans, but didn't give it to the legendaries. Sockets were an issue, I think, at some point. So there's a lot of bugs to this Season 4 problem, and in general, it just feels like they're not keeping up with the tuning that's needed in this season.
Absolutely not.
So, Scrap, you said you had a lot to talk about here. We are a little tight on time.
I'm going to try to keep it really brief. This is a huge topic because it really does come down to how should they be designing tier sets.
All right, hold on. Let's go to the question of the week. I'm gonna make the question of the week. Okay.
So then let me talk immediately after.
Yes.
Okay?
You're gonna have the floor. Our question of the week comes from Ioski from the Discord this week. Said, should a 4-set tier bonus be a small bonus, like let's say a static 5%, then 10% on 4-set, or should it decide the playstyle of your class? So thank you for the question, Ioski. Scrap, what are your thoughts? You can start us off.
I genuinely like the tier sets. Like every tier set that I've played, I kind of like the direction it's going. I like large changes to the playstyle because it keeps it interesting. Like going from Season 1 to Season 2, Season 3, like my rotation is slightly different. What priorities I'm doing, what talents I'm taking is slightly different. I like that. Now, the problem is they need to be careful about the balancing. And like what I think they shouldn't do is like what they did with Survival Hunter, where they're like, okay, the Season 1 is a very like single target nuke sort of thing. And then it's like Season 3 is like a big multi-target nuke. So going from one to the other is kind of shitty because it's like if you favor one content to the other, you're like, oh man, I really missed that old tier set. They need to keep the tier sets in the same design philosophy. Like if we're saying, or like for example, the Season 3 Survival Hunter, I know I play Survival Hunter, so that's what perspective I'm going to talk from. Is that it was decent enough in single target, but it was really, really satisfying, worked well in multi-target. It should work in both. The Season 1, which is the one that got picked, which is the reason why I'm going to be using 483 gear for the rest of the entire season. So I don't even hear anybody complaining about not getting their tier sets, like, because I'm never going to change my tier set.
Unless they do a tuning pass.
Well, they were not going to do a tuning pass because it's so. And I talked to you about this.
Yeah.
Is because it's the current tier set is very very powerful in single target and in raid, so they cannot buff it. So that it will be meaningfully like kept up in multi-target situations where it won't be broken in single target situations without fundamentally changing it. So they went a little, like, yes, there should be major changes to like the rotation and like as opposed to like a 5% or 10%. Like I do like that, but it has to be tuned very carefully. And if you have, I don't even know how many specs and classes there are. There's like 40 or something like
38.
that.
Yeah.
38. Yeah. That's going to be really, really hard. So they need to, I think for each class, they need to think like, what's the main vibe of this class? Like oftentimes for Survival Hunter, it's like more of an AoE focus sort of thing, like Unholy Deathlight, kind of more of an AoE focus thing. Whereas like, I don't remember which kind of rogue, there's like the one rogue that's like very much a single target nuke, and that's kind of their vibe. Like they should keep the tier sets in line with that design philosophy, as opposed to like shifting it really hard. I understand that's going to be really difficult when there's 38 specs and it's like all these talent trees.
And
You
every
have to make sure
season.
it's balanced and every season. And yeah, I think they generally did a good, like, I thought they're very interesting for the most part. The ones that I did, some are more fun than others. But I think what you're having right now, where it's like, okay, in Mythic Plus situations, I'm going to use the 43 gear forever because it's such a powerful tier set compared to the new one. You fucked up. Like, that should not be the case.
Okay.
There's something
Yeah, I
wrong
think
there.
they owned up to that too. I think they're trying to fix that.
Art, did they? Because I saw no changes for mine. So what they
Well,
should have
something
done.
about like Moonkin changes they're making because of that same
Well,
scenario.
because people play Moonkin.
But that's also because they can fix that one without
yeah,
breaking
they can't,
the
They
fundamental.
can't fix mine, really. I don't think.
So let me summarize real quick. Sorry, because again we're running.
I'm sorry. I kind of talked in a long stream.
You love the idea of it changing, and in fairness, I like this idea because this is what leads them to better talent trees, right? Because they'll usually take the tier sets that worked well and they go, cool, let's make this into a talent. They're doing that with Arcane and the War Within, right? But you're saying that they should kind of, I hate to say it this way, pigeonhole a spec into being a specialist on its own. So survival being AoE versus marksman being, as an example, single target.
I'm just saying I don't like it when they change like the design philosophy of the class with the tier set. And I think they did that a little bit with like Fury as well. I mean, I could go on a whole tangent. I'm not going to. Whereas like they're kind of shoehorning you into taking certain talents, and it kind of limits your choice based on the tier set. It's like, okay, well, season 2 tier set is kind of like you're more encouraged to go on the left side of the tree because the ability that is like in the tier set is on the left side of the tree, so you don't really have the option. So I don't know. Maybe they need to make it a little bit more generic. I hate to see it go down to a 5 to 10% bonus like tier sets. I definitely don't prefer that. But either they need to be really a lot more careful with tuning, or they need to, at least make it balanced for single and multi-target. Like, as opposed to like, oh, we're gonna make this tier set a single target nuke or a multi-target nuke. It's like you're just making a mess.
Johnny.
There was so much there.
Well, we'll focus on the question. Do you prefer just the general boost, or do you want them to change the rotation?
That's tough. I think if I was the one making it, I'd make it a general boost.
Because it's easier.
Because it's less work.
Because it's easier, and if I'm trying to, I mean, the talk is already that the game's always unbalanced anyway to some degree. So if they can't, I know you don't like it, but I'm saying the general opinion is the game is imbalanced.
If I see one more person on Twitter say "fix the fucking game," I'm just be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Anyway,
there's problems, of course, but
yeah, general opinion is a lot of people feel the game is not balanced already in classes, and then you're taking another thing that makes it harder to balance it. So, as someone that plays other seasonal content games that they give you a tier set at the start of a season and they have multiple sets within it, I like the idea of tier sets. At the same time, I also just would be happy to play it with a buff to my character that each season I don't have to switch how I play.
Technique.
So I'm on the fence on it, dude. Like, I like the idea of just straight boss. Yeah. But like, sometimes the change is good, and then sometimes, like for scrap this season, the change is crap. And it's a risk you take by doing tier sets.
Yeah, I think there's no such thing as balance or equality, man, and there shouldn't be. I don't think every single DPS should be like, oh, let me walk
Get your
into this
CEO
dungeon
hats
and do the
on.
exact same. Well, I don't think you should walk into the dungeon and be like, oh, like every class should be level with every other class. Like there's just not a realistic expectation. And there's no way that Blizzard could make it that way if they wanted to. So
Can I just add on?
There will always be a meta. I feel like there should be dungeons that favor certain playstyles and dungeons that favor different playstyles. That's the balance there, I think.
Whoa! But then you have the problem of this, like think of Covenants last season, where you're not taking someone because they're not a Venthy or whatever. That creates.
So it gives you a chance to take someone else.
Yeah, but then you're never like if I'm the shaman who's Night Fae or whatever, I'm never getting into the Venthyr dungeons then.
I don't think that was as big a problem.
It was a huge problem. We didn't experience it because we were grouping with each other, but we didn't give a shit. We're like, who cares?
I think that goes both ways, though.
I actually really love that our tier bonuses can change the way we play.
Okay.
Change our rotation, change our play style a little bit.
It's like a tweak. It's not a huge overhaul.
I actually like it. Yeah, when they released season, I think it was season 2, and it made Ignore Pain so much stronger, and you like build that into you're just fucking slapping Ignore Pain all over the place. That was great. And this patch, they centered it all around Shield Slam, which is for Prot Warriors, which is great for single target, but it kind of reduced all of your like Mythic Plus, Threat Gen, and DPS. I mean, yeah, you use Shield Slam a lot to keep your tier set going, but anyway, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot because it's easier to do from a developer standpoint. It's easier to do than changing every single thing every patch. And you give someone some like tier bonuses that are meaningful, then you can build around that a little more. I like it.
For me, the tuning is I'm not gonna say irrelevant, but it's like it's a moot point because I'm going to be tuned in different ways anyways, that if it adds 5 or 10%, but I'm still, number 1 DPS or whatever, it doesn't matter as long as I'm number 1 DPS, right?
Can I add on to that a little bit?
No, whereas this season for Arcane, for example, all it does really is it makes my arcane missiles build up to this idea where instead of firing one set of missiles at one person, I can fire at 5, right? And it just looks visually cool seeing all those missiles go. The truth is, it's not powerful enough in certain circumstances to even bother worrying about when I get that proc. And to me, that's kind of okay, right? Like, I don't care as long as I'm, like, I want to see something new. I want to see something, even if it's just a little tweak. That is what goes, okay, this is where it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna tune on all the other layers in there anyways. I want to see what could potentially, as did with this example of the tier set, going into my talent tree when they make the overhaul, because then they can even tune it differently after the fact to make it even more powerful because it looks visually cool and now it is powerful. So like, yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's the changing of the rotation that makes the impact. And again, it's like baby steps as opposed to a huge overhaul where you say like, okay, well, I think there was one in like Shadowlands with Shamans where Frost Shock wasn't really relevant. And then they're like, well, let's make a tier set that makes Frost Shock do this. And now it like fit in the rotation a little bit better and it just kind of flowed, right? And they're like, cool, let's move forward with this as a talent kind of situation. Scrap Claw quickly, we got to bring it home.
This is just really quickly because I just want my point not to be missed, is that like Technique kind of put it forward. It's like, balancing between classes, is that's what he's focusing on. I agree with you that I don't think the balancing between classes is that significant. Like, you can be good, whatever. We already had this conversation. The failing that they had is that like there's not good balancing between one season to the other. Whereas like for my class, I'm not incentivized to actually get the gear because I'm just going to become worse. So that's where they're failing in the tuning.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So
I don't think there should ever be a scenario where you're stuck with last season's gear to be better than this season's gear. That should never be the
Yeah,
case.
that's when I was talking about the tuning failing. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like, oh, like I'm
Totally
worse
agree.
than
That's-
Nemo Warlock. I don't
but-
care about that. I'm more like I'm worse than I was last season.
Okay, I
Which
want to clarify really
feels shit.
quickly. This is rare though, because rarely do we have this kind of broken problem.
I don't think I've ever
It's
seen that type of problem
rare.
except for this.
It's happened. It's happened once or twice, but it's rare.
Yeah.
But
I
what
mean,
what I'm
I've had it
asking
before
is
in
like, let's
multiple
leave season 4
classes.
out of it for just a second. You go from because you've switched your class based on the tier set, right? One like you went to survival because of how powerful.
Yeah.
Because of how
No, not how
powerful it
powerful,
was.
because how much I hated the Fury tier set of season
Okay,
2.
so you're choosing it over. You're choosing it over the flavor, not the number.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I like the rotational difference, and you know, if they make the rotation more enjoyable, I'm looking for that. Like I'm getting the gear on my hunter, and I want to switch to something else because I'm not enjoying this current season tier set is very dull compared to last season's, which I thought was more fun.
Alright.
And in addition to that, it's also worse. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Last question. Then we're going home. Shawnee,
Yeah.
based on what you originally thought, okay, better or worse than what you thought going into season 4?
I gave it like a 5. I
Mhm.
would give it a 5. It's still a 5, but everyone being a dick about me healing has made me look at it as an 8, just to
Ooh,
ruin
okay.
their lives.
Oh, yeah, I'll never say
Scrap
anything
claw.
negative.
No, it's
Scrap
alright.
claw. We gotta go home. Scrap claw.
I also am enjoying it more. I didn't know how much fun I thought the bullions were gonna be.
Okay.
Like I picked out the best weapon and I leveled it all the way up, and I was like,
Yep.
yeah, it was awesome.
Technique.
What's the question?
Better or worse than what you initially walked into season 4 thinking it was going to be, which I think you gave it a 5.
I think I probably gave it a 4. But right now, I think, especially since the warrior buff, I'm stoked to be logged in week 2 and tanking again. So I'm excited. I'll go ahead and give it a 4.1 to boost it above
Just
where
a little
it was
bit better.
previously.
Okay.
Yeah, just slightly. I mean, you know, I don't like redoing content. However, I do love, like I said earlier, I love the Dragonflight dungeons, man. So I'm not really complaining.
And the raids,
The biggest
honestly.
thing for me is, anyway, I have a good time with it. So
Okay, cool. Next week we have Pandaland coming out. I should call it really WoW Remix, Mists of Pandaria. We are going to focus an episode on just leveling in general after we get our feet wet with that for a couple days. And before we go, one more time to visit the website, mythicdungeonleague.com. You can go there and join our Discord. You can follow our Twitch stream, which is twitch.tv/mdlfrank. Follow us on Twitter. I'm going to call it Twitter forever, League Mythic. And then, of course, if you want to email a question of the week to us, mythicdungeonleague@gmail.com. All right, that's the episode. I appreciate everyone listening. We look forward. Sorry again for being off last week. I had a medical issue I had to deal with. But we look forward to being back next week. And we hope everyone has a wonderful week. And wow, we'll see you then.